Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Pointed out a specific
Um, I noticed from the thumbnail, like, okay, part of Spain to Portugal, parts of Ireland to Northern Ireland, more? But I don't know what this is. Let's go. Let's find out. Preemptive like, general knowledge, great channel, original link to the video, top of the description. My name's Connor if you're new. Let's learn.
Have you ever looked at a map, pointed out a specific region, and thought, hey, that border would look much better if the adjacent country annexed some of it? Some people call it border gore. It's best represented by any
Border
map of the
OCD.
Holy Roman Empire, or any map of a paradox game after any peace treaty without player-led conferences. Anyway, most times these borders have a reason, and they look bad in order to respect cultural limits. It's much better than having those stupid straight lines that are essentially fake. However, those cultural limits aren't always respected. So in this video, we're going to take a look at parts of countries that could join neighboring countries, either because of true cultural approximations, historical reasons, or just because they might want to.
Just because they look good? I know there's some mess going on in the Caucasus.
Let's start with Galicia.
Armenia.
Galicia is an autonomous community in the northwest of Spain, known for its distinct cultural and linguistic identity. The region has a unique Celtic heritage reflected in its music, traditions, and even the local language, Galician, which is co-official with Spanish in the region. Galicia shares some similarities with Portugal, particularly in terms of historical connections and cultural elements, namely in language. Galician has a lot of common words and similar pronunciations with Portuguese. After all, in the 3rd century, it was a Roman province under the name Galicia, which
Portuguese is such a strange sounding language, in my opinion. It almost has like a Slavic part to it. I know that sounds like crazy, but if I hear a language that sounds like Spanish, but there's something off, I guess Portuguese.
included what would then become northern Portugal, something that kept going with the Visigothic Galicia or the early kingdom of Galicia. Over time, Portugal was able to achieve their independence, but the cultural and historical connection remains. There are very minor movements for Galician independence within Spain, especially when compared to other regions like Catalonia or the Basque country, and even smaller, if at all existent, movements to unite with Portugal.
Guys. Didn't Portugal sort of not gain its independence from it? It seemed like during the Reconquista, it just kind of formed that way. You know? Like Granada or something down here. But it didn't really seem like there was this giant war between Spain and Portugal, which over the, parts of the Iberian Peninsula. But it really just seemed to like clearly have an identity before the Christians took back the peninsula from the Muslims.
Within Spain, local connection remains. There are very minor movements for Galician independence within Spain, especially when compared to other regions like Catalonia or the Basque country, and even smaller, if at all existent, movements to unite with Portugal, other than some local people mentioning it when unhappy with the Spanish government. Overall, it's very unlikely that this will ever happen, but if it did, it wouldn't be a bad fit. Next, we have the Orkney Islands, today a part of the United Kingdom, but which could join Norway. They're this small set of islands just north of Scotland.
I always mix up the Shetland and these are the Shetland Islands, right? And these
they're this small set of islands just north of Scotland, of which they are a part of. The islands have been inhabited for at least 8,500 years, originally occupied by Mesolithic and Neolithic tribes, and then by the Picts. Orkney was colonized and later annexed by the Kingdom of Norway in 875 and settled by the Norsemen. This is relevant because, despite the fact that the Norwegians and Danes eventually withdrew from the British Isles throughout history, some cultural connection remains. Orkney was under Norwegian and Danish rule until the late 15th century, when the islands were handed to Scotland as security for the wedding dowry of Margaret of Denmark in her
Didn't she die like right away?
marriage to King James III of Scotland, and the locals, or at least some of them, have used this historical connection to back a threat of secession.
I'm so sorry, guys. If I was about to like sneeze, and then I missed some stuff. And if they said that already, sorry.
when displeased with the Scottish or British governments. First, in 1967, when a campaign called Back to Denmark was held. Orkney's Nordic ties were invoked again in 1986 when they protested against the expansion of a nuclear power station near their land, going as far as creating a written declaration addressed to the kings of Norway and Denmark. The declaration called on them to consult on our constitutional status. Finally, in 2023, new proposals brought forward by the local council, the Orkney Islands would explore alternative forms of governance. If the UK was to break up with Scotland leaving, this wouldn't be impossible, otherwise it's pretty unlikely. Another territory that the UK might lose to a neighbour, and one that is much more likely to happen, is Northern Ireland. Ireland's history as an island spans from independence in medieval times to its full annexation by Great Britain. After existing fully under British control for a while, a partition took place in 1921, creating the Independent Republic of Ireland and British Northern Ireland. Culturally, Ireland emphasizes its Celtic roots as well, with a Catholic majority south and a significant Protestant population in the north, contributing to ongoing divisions. However, those divisions aren't as relevant today as they were at the time of the Troubles, and tensions have been going down with the two peoples living together. In fact, when the UK left the EU and a border was talked of, both sides disliked this idea.
I was just about to say, now with Brexit, and a possible hard border, hopefully that
demographic
stays.
terms, the Catholic population has been growing in the north, and favor for reunification in polls has increased because of this and a British exit from the EU. I would say this reunification is inevitable. What will speed up or slow down the process remains to be seen. But before we keep going, a quick word from today's sponsor.
Make sure if you're interested in any of the videos sponsors I have, guys, please use their links. The original link
Incognito.
top the description
Here is
to
the
their
problem.
video.
Every year there's hundreds if not thousands of data breaches into companies that have your personal information stored. This data can be bought by businesses that are going to bother you with spam email, regular mail, or just bother you in general. Or in the worst case scenario, it can fall into the hands of ill-intended people that might leak it or blackmail you for it. But don't worry, here is the good part. Legally, these data brokers that sell your info to brands and put it at risk can be forced to delete your personal information if you ask them to. But who knows how to do this, and who has the time to find them all, reach out individually, and deal with the obstacles they put up? I'll tell you who. Incogni. They reach out to data brokers on your behalf. They request your personal data removal and deal with any objections from their side. The best part is they don't just do this once, they constantly check the market to make sure your information is staying off it. I did it a few months ago and I still get updates every month, plus a detailed view of which companies have my data and how at risk it is. Doing this can have tremendous benefits, especially if you're from the US. It can prevent identity theft and fraud, it can help you get better rates from insurance companies, and it keeps you safe from strangers accessing your information. So if you're interested, try Incogni today through my link in the description, incogni.com/knowledge. You can do it for 30 days for free, and if you choose to sign up, you will get an incredible 60% discount. Now back to the video. Next, we travel to the Caucasus region to take a look at Artakh, also known as Nagorno-Karabakh.
Yep,
this region exists inside
right
of
now,
Azerbaijan,
right?
and is officially recognized as such. However, the local population has been ethnically Armenian for a while. They declare themselves independent and have mostly existed as a de facto nation, flying this flag, very similar to the Armenian one. The region has been a subject of dispute and even armed conflict between them since a long time ago. There was a full-out war in the 1990s, and one seems to be happening now as well. It's uncertain what the outcome will be, but it sadly seems like local Armenians will have a hard time keeping their de facto sovereignty, and an almost impossible challenge in joining Armenia entirely.
It's crazy how some conflicts, like war is war, some can be more devastating, but how some conflicts get so much more attention than others, you know? Like Israel, Palestine, or Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia, when like there's stuff happening in Central Africa, like stuff in the Congo, there's stuff in Sudan going on, there's this, whatever China is doing in with the Uyghur. It's like, I understand that the reason why they're talked about more, but it still makes it awkward.
On the opposite end, McJibbin exists as an Azerbaijani exclave next to Armenia, and while Armenian annexation would fix the border gore, the population is Azerbaijani, and so this wouldn't make any sense, showing how the point of these potential annexations isn't just to make borders prettier, but rather to correct potential ethnic displacements or historical splits. Next, we go back west to Transylvania. Transylvania became a part of the Kingdom of Hungary in the 11th century, developing into a diverse melting pot of ethnic groups such as Hungarians, Saxons, and Zeklers. Eventually, Hungary united with Austria under the Habsburg rule, and the region remained a part of the Hungarian kingdom within the empire. However, after World War I, the Treaty of Trianon in 1920 resulted in Hungary losing Transylvania to Romania.
Sorry, I just wanted to... So these are the Carpathians. This is Bohemia. Transylvania. Tyrol, what is that? Because I always... Like, it all just seems like a giant... Like, why are these not considered part of the Alps? You know? And these. Well, these are the Dinaric Alps, and I guess there is a clear partition here where they're not connected. Huh. Okay.
The region remained a part of the Hungarian kingdom within the empire. However, after World War I, the Treaty of Trianon in 1920 resulted in Hungary losing Transylvania to Romania, along with a bunch of other territories to other neighbors, in what I would argue was a very unfair manner. Romania annexed the region, but a significant Hungarian minority remained there, and still lives there today, which has led to continuous tensions between the two countries. In the post-communist era, Romania recognized the rights of ethnic minorities, providing cultural autonomy for the Hungarian minority in Transylvania. Despite this recognition, there are still occasional claims for unification with Hungary from some individuals within the Hungarian communities. In order for this to happen, Hungary would have to make a formal request and Romania would have to accept. The latter at least is unlikely, especially because the concentration of Hungarians isn't at the border with Hungary, it's further in, which would create the need for an Hungarian exclave within Romania, not just a simple expansion and border adjustment. Nearby is Istria, today a part of Croatia, and its origin is also connected to the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Following World War I, the Treaty of Versailles awarded Istria to Italy, primarily as a result of its Italian-speaking population.
Croatia and Italy. Why you guys gotta do this to Bosnia and Slovenia? Like Slovenia, like Italy just like wrapping all the way around and like, okay, you can have this little coastline, and then Croatia, little teeny bit of Bosnian coastline that still seems to have to go through I guess it would be a fjord.
And strategic importance. Under Italian rule, Istria became an integral part of the kingdom, experiencing cultural assimilation policies that aimed to Italianize the region. However, then World War II happened, and suddenly Italy was a defeated and not a winning power. After the war in 1947, the territory was transferred to Yugoslavia, leading to significant demographic changes. The Italian-speaking population mostly dwindled as many fled or were expelled, while a Slavic population, predominantly Croatian, took their place. Today, Istria is part of Croatia, which gained independence in 1991. While the majority of the population is Croatian, there's still a small Italian-speaking community, and some people within that community have expressed a desire to reunite with Italy, citing historical ties and the presence of an Italian cultural heritage. However, such claims are not officially endorsed by any of the governments. Again, it's unlikely this will ever happen,
Still
but
be an enclave,
if it did,
right?
it wouldn't be shocking.
Slovenia.
And finally, for this video, also in the Mediterranean Sea, we have Corsica.
I'm surprised we didn't. He's not going to go into, what is it, Punjab area, or what is that area in the Himalayas where Pakistan, India, and China have these crazy borders, or also Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan.
Corsica became a part of France in 1769 when the French bought it from Genoese rule. They did this largely due to the strategic importance of the island, which served as a key naval base. The Genoese wanted to sell it in part because they were struggling with putting down a rebellion of Corsicans that wanted to be independent, one that was swiftly defeated by the French army. But Corsican desires for independence didn't disappear back then. In the 20th century, the National Liberation Front of Corsica emerged, engaging in armed struggle for Corsican independence. While the
Imagine like being super nationalist for Corsican independence, from Italy and like winning, or at least like not getting beaten, and then they're just like, Italy's like, all right, now, France, it's your problem now, and just being like, oh, damn it.
Conflict has diminished,
Then
political stance
I hope
for
that made sense.
autonomy persists, reflecting a small but still existing desire for Corsican self-determination. While the Corsican people are undoubtedly French today, and I would argue most wouldn't want independence, their Corsican identity remains, and some Italian influence also exists, particularly in language and cultural aspects. Should they achieve independence, it's possible they would look to Italy for unification and support. After all, this southern neighboring island of Sardinia is Italian. But again, it's just very unlikely to happen despite the historical justification. So, those are some of the territories of countries that might, or at least could, join neighboring countries, either because of true cultural connections, historical reasons, or just because they might want to. None of them, save Northern Ireland, are particularly likely. In fact, I would dare say most are unlikely, yet amongst those unlikely cases, there are some where it would in fact make sense, such as Armenia Nagorno-Karabakh or Hungarian Transylvania. Do you think any of these will ever be exchanged from one country to another, and are there any other territories you would add to this list? Do you think any...
Interesting, because the way that England seemed to, take over the Ulster part of Ireland is by putting in emigrating a bunch of, British, I think Protestant people over there, and then eventually the population there is going to want to stay independent. And now it seems like Ireland, and it's kind of on the other track. Now, like, more Catholics are moving in there, and then eventually maybe a vote will come where they want to regain, part of be part of Ireland. Don't take my words like, obviously it's on the island of Ireland. You know what I mean, okay? Interesting video, guys. I hope you're all doing well. Love you all. I would love for you to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys next video.